Almost there. Hey, that was quicker than I anticipated. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the BAMF podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty. And there's Jacob Blackman below me in slow motion for reasons that are unclear, but it's kind of amusing. And next to me is Sean Isaac, who we met back in the day when he was doing RPG art, and now he is up in the big show, as they say, doing art for. You're doing Fantastic Four for Marvel right now, right? Fantastic Four Life Story.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's always glad when you can come by and grace us with your presence, man. It's always a pleasure.
At least this time I remember it. Wasn't it with you the one time that I was supposed to be on a show and I kind of slipped my mind one time? It was someone.
That was the last time we had Ron Mars on talking about a project for Ominous, I think, but that's like a year ago. So yeah. So Snydercut reaction for anyone who's been living under a rock for the last few weeks. Or months, there was a big fan swell on Twitter and other social media platforms to get the true version of Zack Snyder's vision of Justice League, and they felt it was done grave injustice by Joss Whedon, and so the movie got made. $40 million of reshoots, and it's 4 hours long. HBO Max just came out. You guys saw it. Sean, we haven't had you on in a while, so I'll let you go first. What's your take on this?
I enjoyed it. It's a vastly superior movie to the one that came out originally. I had so many issues when the first one came out, like so many, and like thankfully a lot of those scenes were taken out, were in this, and they were the Whedon's version. That said, I still have a few issues with this. I think everybody feels this way, is if they had taken at least some of the slow motion out, we would have had like a movie that was an hour shorter. I think like this isn't my Justice League is the nicest way to say it, but I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about the characters. This is how I feel. So don't at me if you don't feel the same. There's a lot of really awesome scenes in the movie, but then something will happen that'll pull me out that makes no sense. There's a lot of things in there that I feel are it's like we're going to do this because it looks cool, because there's like probably a keyframe that looks awesome, but it makes no sense. I said it in my Twitter review the other day. The biggest one is Wonder Woman taking out a whole bunch of dudes with almost no effort, and then there's one guy left that she could literally just flick and take him out, but she's got to like destroy an entire wall, debris falling on cops and damaging cars and probably pedestrians to take out one guy that's busy reloading a gun. Like that's like that kind of sums up the movie for me. There's like a lot of everything leading up to that is really, really cool, and then you do this thing which doesn't really make sense, you know. Also, Wonder Woman's thing is, you know, bringing peace to man's world, and I don't know at what point it happened, but someone like eventually, like people just, especially in these movies, they focus on this savage, brutal warrior person that's knocking guys out and leaving bloodstains on the walls, and I couldn't really get down that because that just doesn't feel like that's not her character really. That said, like it does help thinking of this as an alternate universe, Justice League, because it's not mine. The Superman, the black suit, like don't get me wrong, it's a very cool looking suit, but I just felt like if it were bright colors, if it was this bright red freaking cape that showed up and this like bright red symbol and bright blue and stuff, it just would have been so much more hopeful instead of this like funeral clothes, essentially. Especially for that last scene when he's going down the alleyway and like opens up. Like it's a great scene. I think that's the one scene that actually has like some kind of color in it. You know? Another rule of mine when it comes to superheroes, except for like obviously Batman, for example, is you should be able to spot them in a scene almost immediately, no matter if it's a long shot, if it's among falling buildings or whatever. You should be able to spot the superhero and their bright colors immediately. I think it's why I love the recent Spider-Man movies, even Amazing Spider-Man and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Even though like I enjoyed those movies, I always felt like his costume was still too dark. You wouldn't be able to spot them, like especially Andrew Garfield's costume looked like it was constantly dirty. Um, and Tom Holland's costumes have always been so bright that like even when he's swinging through, New York or anything like that, you can spot him immediately because you see that bright red speck. And in the Justice League movie, everybody kind of had shades of brown, sort of, or like a bronzy color. And I'm just like, it's kind of. I still maintain that I think Justice League would have been way more revolutionary if Zack Snyder had created his own universe with his own characters and their own motivations and just told that story. Create his own universe that he can do with what he wants, and then that way, like everybody just accepts the characters the way they are. The thing with this is everybody's going to compare the online Justice League to the stuff that they're in the comics, and as you can see, it causes a lot of dissent and people that agree and try to justify this and justify that. It doesn't, like, for me, it doesn't really work out. But if it was his own universe, like I think it would have taken the world by storm, and he would have had sequels telling this greater story within the Zack Snyder verse without like DC having to, compare them to kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's just a lot of what I've seen online. I'm curious. There's been such a huge reaction to this. I almost wonder if we're going to get some of those sequels because they don't really have a firm direction for the future of the DCEU. So I don't know. Also, do you guys think Martian Manhunter is maybe both Superman's and Batman's mom?
I mean, yeah. Like, okay, so like the thing is, after spending 4 hours watching this thing, which I'm like way too much like overly dramatic music and too much slow mo, and the Flash, whose main job is to run, falls a lot in this movie. Like, I won't lie if it hasn't made me like intrigued as to what he would have done. Like, and I know there's tons of things that I would like strongly disagree with and that I would probably hate, but like one thing this movie did feel is it did feel epic. Like it did feel like this long journey. So basically, me and a whole bunch of my buddies, we all got together. We had like we had some food, and we all 5 of us kind of sat down and we did like this marathon viewing of it. And it did feel like it was epic. It was this thing that you're gonna sit down and you're gonna go through this journey kind of thing. Even through the things that you hated, through the things that you loved, it did feel larger than life. Like he did achieve that. That was awesome. I think the apocalyptic future scene at the end was kind of like pointless. I just felt like so we can get Jared Leto in there. I was like, and what? Like I didn't. I mean, I kind of got the point. Like they should have just ended it before that kind of thing. But that said, my favorite things about the movie is give me an entire movie with Bruce, Diana, and Alfred just like having tea and talking crap in the Batcave. Because when those three were on screen, it was amazing. Like the chemistry was just ridiculous, and it makes me wish that we'd had like a Batman movie because Jeremy Irons and Ben Affleck would have just killed it with having Diana pop in and being like Bruce's like best friend with like a little bit of tension and stuff. Would have been awesome to see just because those characters were and those actors are just so talented and charismatic. That is my favorite about the whole thing.
I almost kind of think it'd be interesting to see like a Justice League miniseries or do it like Game of Thrones or that kind of a streaming series where you get 8 or 10 episodes a year, and then almost seems like it might be a better format for this kind of storytelling.
I think so. I mean, like the place cards that they had in the movie was really cool. Like it was like, okay, this is where we are so far, kind of thing. Like that was rad. And I think that breaking it up into like hour chunks, if you wanted to tell a story, especially if it's a series on HBO Max or whatever the case might be. Like I think as a series, telling your story, like that's cool. I mean, and that way, like if I end up hating it, I don't have to watch it, but it's there for the fans, and he gets to tell his story. I mean, that's one of the biggest things for an artist, and like obviously Zack Snyder is an artist. You can see in how he does things. Whether I disagree with how some of his like storytelling and all that stuff, like he is an artist. Like he takes pride in the stuff that he does, and he makes it look really, really pretty. And I mean that the best thing and the most fulfilling thing as an artist is to like put your stories out and share them with the world, whether people hate it, whether people like it. There'll always be people that it'll speak to and who it won't. But also like our snippets are cool because you can bail out if you're not digging it. I mean, not that people bailed out of the last season of Game of Thrones. We all kind of sat through that. So I mean, it really can't be worse than that, anyways. You know. So.
Cool. Jacob, what do you think, sir?
Hashtag long ass movie. Yeah, a lot of what Sean says is very similar to what I think. Yeah, this is a 4-hour movie that could have been a really good 2.5-hour movie, maybe closer to 3 hours, if they had taken out a lot of the slow motion and had made the entire Flash subplots into a Flash movie, which they should have done before this came out. Flash is one of those characters that needs to have their own series.
So that sort of goes into something else I completely forgot. Is this movie felt like something that should have been part of a 5-year plan? Like you should have had. Like I wasn't invested enough in Ben Affleck's character until now, but it would have been cool if he had been in a couple of movies before that. We'd had a Flash movie before that. I know people might say, "Oh, it's because Marvel did it," but it's like, so fucking what? You know what I mean? Like, do that, and then you can like then this movie will have stakes for each character.
Yeah, I had no problem with a lot of Cyborg's origin stuff in this movie, considering how intrinsically attached to the mother boxes it was. So Cyborg's background stuff fit perfectly in this. It was just, I think the Flash needed his own film before this. Batman certainly needed his own film before this. We needed to know a little more about Batman and his 20-year career before showing up as an antagonist in BVS.
And BVS also had way too many storylines in there. Like you could have taken a lot of that stuff out. It didn't need the death of Superman and Batman. And Batman vs Superman, they only fought for like a few minutes, really, anyways.
Yeah. But overall, this was a much better movie than the theatrical version. I felt the story. The story felt more solid. You understood people's motivations more, the villains' motivations, the heroes' motivations.
Why they did the things they did.
And yeah, otherwise, I wholeheartedly agree. The end scene, the what would have been end credits scene in a Marvel film with the post-apocalypse bit, totally unnecessary to this movie. They could have made that a separate thing entirely. That did not need to belong in this.
Oh.
The way the movie ended with, you know, the plan failed. The Justice League is tied together. Lex Luthor's making his plans to take out the Justice League. You know, the dark side is going to attempt to conquer Earth the old ways. Great. We have set up for future events, future movies. Fantastic. That's where the movie should have ended. The apocalypse scene was entirely unnecessary.
You can kind of feel for Zack Snyder, though, right? I mean, every day he wakes up and he picks up his phone and there's like 12 texts from Jared Leto. He's got to be like, God damn, I got to take care of this guy somehow.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jared Leto was leaving like dodgy things on his doorstep every week. You know, method acting.
As far as I know, Jared Leto. I don't care what people say about Jared. Jared Leto is done as the Joker. The way he treated Margot Robbie and the other people on the set of the Suicide Squad was just unforgivable.
Oh yeah, dude, that's not method acting. That's just being an ass. To be honest, like, dude, it's called acting. You pretend to be someone else. You don't have to be the person in real life just to get like. No, it doesn't. It added nothing to your acting abilities. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I forget what movie it was, but there was a young actor who who was supposed to be really tired in a scene, and he was going to be doing it with an old actor. So before the scene, he did a 5-mile marathon run, so he'd be exhausted and tired before he showed up and filmed the scene. And the older actor was like, "Have you tried acting tired?"
Yeah.
I think that story is Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier on the set of
Laurence Olivier, isn't it?
1976
thriller Marathon Man.
Yeah. It's just you don't have to do these things. They can spritz you down so you look like you're sweating.
Yeah, just pretend. Or like we would just do a couple of push-ups if you want to like really have a little bit of authenticity, but you don't have to like no, come on.
I was part of a drama crew for years. Pretend. It's all supposed to be pretend. Makeup. Come on, work it.
So I was
going
going to say like the cyborg thing. So first of all, I didn't like Flash's costume,
No.
and I really, really disliked Cyborg's look, his design.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of I'm sure there's been like a lot of passes and like people had to approve it and all that stuff. So like it's not me saying anything about any of the concept artists that worked on it, because I know how that goes. Like you'll do something and then it'll be like, we're going more in this direction, and stuff happens, and some people might have liked it. I didn't, and I didn't like him tied to Mother Box story, to be honest. I thought he would have been more a character you could kind of connect with more if he came from a more hopeful place. Because I mean, you had like, and imagine if like it's similar to the story in the comics where he had his body that was badly damaged, and his father built him something. He built him this armor, and he had like in the story, if he had to push beyond the computers and beyond the armor and all that stuff to beat the Mother Boxes, kind of thing, and look beyond what his metal body could do, and be like, if like me and my dad loved me and he gave this to me, and it would have been cool if it came from a more hopeful place, and would be like a much more engaging character for me, anyways. Because having too many tragic characters in one group is just a bit exhausting. You know what I mean? So you kind of had Cyborg, who was being a bit of an ass to people, and you had Aquaman, who was being a bit of a jerk as well. And then, like, it was a bit, come now, like, but that's obviously that's my opinion. So,
do you guys think they're going to continue with this set of characters in the future, or do you think it's just going to, let's roll with the Robert Pattinson stuff and see what happens?
Well, as far as I know, Affleck is out.
Is he not? Is he still not coming? Because I heard there might be like after this, he might come back for Batman flick. But I mean, who knows? Like, I think that the first couple of movies took a toll on the guy, and so I wouldn't blame him if he bailed. Also, because like fans are toxic, man. They can make someone's life crap, and like some people can't distinguish. Like, listen, this is a paying job to like it's a freaking fictional movie with fictional characters. Like, calm down.
Yeah. Now, the last I heard, DC had decided to just do superhero movies based on their characters with no attached universe. They were just going to do, here's Batman movie, and that's going to be Batman stuff. Here's the Wonder Woman movie, and that's going to be Wonder Woman stuff. They weren't going to do a tied-in universe anymore. They were just going to do DC movies until further notice.
To me, that's fine. You know what? Because it leaves the directors and the writers free to tell the story, the contained story, and like all we want is good stories with these characters. So like you don't work so hard to connect them. Like if somehow they connect them down the line because they have them all like gelling really well, I think like the fans will benefit from that. So like the Pattinson Batman flick, I'm in, man. I'm in. I want to see what it's like. I'm usually an optimist, so like I'll be like, freaking sweet, I will be there, and then if it's bad, I'll be like, well, it's not like we're lacking in superhero content. So I'm like, if this is bad, I know that this one's going to be good.
I can just wait a month and there's a new superhero thing to talk about. So I just found an article on Rotten Tomatoes. And Zack Snyder has confirmed there aren't going to be any Justice League sequels as of right now. The article was dated about 4 days ago. Warner Brothers has said they have no interest in working with Zack Snyder anymore. However, Ben Affleck is cast as Batman in the Flash movie coming out in 2022.
Dude, the Flash movie, like I'll believe it when I see it when they start filming the thing. But for me right now, it's like people are gonna go to this movie being like, "Who's the Flash? I'm here for all the Batman." I mean, let's get real. I'm going there for Mike Keaton as Batman again. Like that's what I'm going there for. Like easy. No,
Yeah, I thought Michael.
it.
Yeah, Michael. So I guess Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck are both in that. That'll be. So it's gonna be a multiverse thing. It's gonna be.
Yeah.
Flashpoint or something. Yeah.
The funny thing is you got Flash, who's clearly doing a multiverse thing, and then you got the Spider-Man movie, who's also doing a sort of a Spider-Verse thing. So I'm like, oh, who's gonna like do it better? Like it'll be two movies like similar themes with a lot of like actors that have come before, and I think it's going to be a treat just watching both movies.
Something I like about you, Sean, is you're always so positive about this stuff. Even when you don't like it, you always seem to find a positive angle on it.
Yeah, my friends like they hate hearing from me because I'm just like, dude, like especially like my taste in movies, I like watching really strange things and making my friends watch it, and then they're just like, why did you make me waste 2 hours? And I'm like, but it was amazing. You know, and I mean, like I don't like talking about stuff that I hate, but like there will always be something that I will like. I mean, have you seen a movie called Hobo with a Shotgun, for crying out loud? That's
Rutger Hauer, right?
Yeah. And there's another movie. What's it called? Rubber, about a serial killing tire.
Yeah,
check it out.
I've seen that too.
Hey, I'm right with you. I liked Pluto Nash. I thought Pluto Nash was a fine movie.
I've never seen that.
It is decried as one of the worst Hollywood flops ever. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun science fiction romp.
Okay, I must look for that one. Have you guys watched Detention?
Detention? No, I haven't heard of it.
No, I haven't.
Detention is awesome. I can't explain it to you, but it does have a time traveling bear in it. If you can find it, go and check it out. It's hard to explain, and it does take a dig at like hipsters, and it has got a bit of a 90s feel to it. But it's awesome.
Is it the 2011 movie or the 2019 movie?
I think one is a horror flick.
Is it Chinese and a comedy horror? Or sorry?
No. It's one with Ross Hutchins. No, what's his name? Ross. Sorry, Ross. I'll tell you now. It is the 2011 one with Josh Hutcherson.
Okay, yeah. I'll see if I can find it on streaming. That's pretty cool. Oh, Dan Cook's in there. That's why I missed it. All right, cool.
That's right. And another one, movie 43. I love.
You're the first person I've talked to who liked that movie.
I love that movie so. Every night I gotta watch it just so I could like laugh my ass off. I love that movie so. And I made some of my friends watch it, and they hated me for it. So. They laughed. That's one thing. They laughed a lot, but then they were like, "I can't believe I watched this." I'm like, "But you were entertained." Why are you not entertained?
Yeah. But to get back to the Snyder Cut, which is what we're supposed to be here to talk about.
Oh, my bad. We should just do a movie session where we just talk about random movies.
we do that sometimes here on BAMF, and it's always fun because But we are supposed to be talking about the Snyder Cut. So for the fans' sake, I will search about the Snyder Cut. Superman, don't keep the black suit. The whole point of your costume is you're supposed to be bright and shiny. You are the colorful superhero. Putting Superman in a black suit is utterly pointless and just ridiculous.
Like that would have been cool if he had told the War of the Superman story from the 90s in like movie form, and he came back in the black suit and was fighting all the guys in red and blue and stuff. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I would have had no problem if that was the case, because that then he would have been a distinctive figure on the battlefield. There was a recent animated movie where they did that. They did Doomsday movie and then the Reign of the Supermen, and I thought that was a couple of excellent animated films. Also, with Superman, they fixed the CGI on his upper lip, so that looked a lot nicer. He
No,
no longer.
I read that they just pretty much didn't use any of those shots, and these scenes that they had were either recut or they CG'd his like the costume on him, and he did like cuts with normal face. That's why there wasn't any weird lip things going on.
Okay,
so that makes sense.
And otherwise, some of the other things I liked. I loved how they used Superman and Wonder Woman's enhanced speed in these films, because that's something you never really got in the past films. Is they have super speed, not nearly to the Flash's level, but they've got it and they use it in combat, and it was great to see them use those abilities as opposed to just fly here, punch this. It was really fast action, but it was still enough that you could follow it. And yay!
I mean, Martian. That scene where like the guy shoots at her and you see her blocking, because a lot of stuff happens in slow mo. Mm-hmm. So seeing her blocking bullets in real time was an amazing shot. Just like I sat there like kind of stunned, because as a bystander, that's what you would see, and that was cool.
Yeah. I love that. But the wholly unnecessary, then I smashed the window, causing way more damage than any of the terrorists did. Utterly pointless. Come on, Diana. You have so many more options than that. Options. Use them. The Flash was the absolute MVP of this film, in my opinion.
You see, I feel like Wonder Woman was, but tell me the Flash.
He had the yay motivation that these heroes are often supposed to have. Batman's the broody one. If you make everyone the broody one, what's the point? Flash was not broody. He was the Flash. He was Barry Allen. Yay, let's do this. Yay, we can do this. Bam, bam, bam. Let's be Flash. I like that.
My thing with the Flash was, all my problems would have been solved if they had named him Bart, because he didn't have the personality of Barry Allen to me. He was more Bart Allen, the way he reacted and stuff. He was funny. He delivered really well. I was just like, Barry Allen's kind of a bit more serious and a bit more dry. If they had named him Bart and he had somehow come from the future, lost his memory, but he remembered this thing and he was trying to help everybody help save the world, I would have loved it even more. But it was cool. He was entertaining, and I'm glad that there was someone there with some sort of like levity that just enjoyed, being around these icons, because that makes sense. Like I said, not everybody can be like the brooding, I've been doing this for a really long time, or alternatively, I'm a dick because whatever. So but Flash was cool. He was really cool. I loved. For me, it was Wonder Woman. I just, Gal Gadot steals the scene, and her combat, like the action scenes were awesome. Like a lot of previous Snyder movies, I kind of got a bit bored, because a lot of the fight scenes were just like, I'm gonna punch you, you're gonna go through a wall, then you're gonna punch me, then I'm gonna go through a wall, and that happened a lot in the previous movies. But in here, it felt like it was actual choreography, the way she was handling her shield, her sword, like that kind of stuff. That's the stuff I get off on. I'm like, oh my god, look at how she used the sword this way, and probably because of my D&D stuff, I don't know.
Otherwise, I felt they could have lessened up on that Grecian woman wailing song anytime Wonder Woman did anything.
That was a bit much, eh? It was really a bit much. I'm like, that's way overly dramatic for what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost kind of reminds me of when George Lucas is making the prequels, and there's no one at Lucasfilm who wants to say, nah, man, let's turn that down a little bit. Doesn't need to be that excessive. But this is sort of like, okay, Zach, the fans want your movie. You get carte blanche, do whatever the hell you want, and no one's going to walk in and say, hey, maybe don't have that particular song in the movie 7 times, or maybe not so much slow mo.
Yeah.
My other gripe was whenever Flash was doing stuff, I actually watched, and his flashes of lightning, instead of going past the camera when he did stuff, it seemed that it was almost constantly highlighting the frame that you're watching from all sides, and kind of covering up whatever you're supposed to be seeing. Like that was very jarring, and I felt it very unnecessary. That's why I'm like, people must not give J.J. Abrams any trouble for lens flares, because I'll take those over these giant flashes around the screen where I can't see anything. But still, I enjoyed the movie, and I'm glad I watched it, and I'm glad that he got to make it, and I'm happy for the fans that got to see this actually happen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like directly afterwards, I went and watched Falcon and Winter Soldier. Just, anyways.
Did you like it?
Dude, literally watching it at least like these Disney movies have Disney Plus and Marvel Studios series have made Fridays great again. It's the only way I can tell what day of the week it is, you know. And I like having it in bite-sized chunks now, instead of like we're so used to binging things that like you watch a whole series and then it's hard to pinpoint what happens in what episode, because it's all like one big blur of a movie that's like 12 hours long or whatever. Now it's like I can watch this and I can watch it again, and you kind of digest it, and then the next episode comes and you can kind of really absorb it. Also, I just like Sebastian Stan is just freaking killing it. Like I just love watching him act. And Sam's cool always.
Cool. Yeah, I still need to catch that first episode, hopefully tomorrow morning at the gym. So, all right. Well, hey, that is the time we've got. Sean, always a pleasure, sir. If you want to we could do like a monthly movie show if you're really up for talking movies occasionally.
All right, come here. Like we'll see. Like we'll just make a date, and if I'm not swamped under work, if I haven't fallen behind deadlines, then I'll jump on.
All right. That's
sorry
cool.
if I spoke too much. Clearly this is the only little bit of social interaction I'm getting all week.
It's always a pleasure.
It's all good. That's why I podcast. The social interaction. Otherwise, it's just me and my family for the last 13 months. So yeah, start feeling a little bit like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. So Jacob, thanks for coming out, sir. Always a pleasure.
Good to see you, Jacob.
Good seeing you.
And to all our listeners and viewers out there, I appreciate you checking out the BAMF podcast, and we will catch you next time.
Support the